It's a great movie. Like, I don't know what else to say. Welcome to Conde vs. the Machine video edition. We have spent the week watching this huge, towering, epic film called Das Boot. The boat is what that means in German.
Yes.
Dave, what were your thoughts on Das Boot?
An amazing movie.
Bam, 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 bam. That's when we put in all like the flashbangs.
I remember liking it, and I haven't seen it in a long time. When we found the version that's online, it was the director's cut, so it's super long, and I was like, oh man, what if this is boring? And it was the most riveted I've been in a long time. My teeth were grit, and even though it took me 3 seatings, it wasn't for boredom. Like every time I had to turn it off, I was like, I need to see what happens next, but I had to take care of people in the house.
You can get a mouth guard for the teeth grittiness. You don't want to wear them down.
In the theater, just like, I'm ready.
Let's do this.
Performances are amazing. There's very little to criticize. It is particularly long. You can't find the theatrical, but it's like an hour difference. So I wonder what people saw.
2.5 hours is the theatrical cut. 3.5 hours is this director's cut.
That's a lot of added material, but it doesn't feel slow. It feels like everything is put together really well, and I would actually watch it again. I would sit my ass down for 3.5 hours and watch this again.
I think what it does so well, we need to start slow to kind of establish character, their motivations, who they are, the kind of relationships. And then when the shit actually hits the fan, then it's like, oh my God, I know who these people are. They're all going to die. That's kind of my roller coaster of emotions. For the longest time, I honestly thought like, oh, are they never going to get attacked on this sub? Like it's setting it up for them to never actually find
just suspense.
Combat. Yeah. So it's just suspense after suspense after suspense. And then when that first kind of bomb hits them, it's like, okay, we're here, we're in it. We are on the edges of our seats the entire time, relax a little bit, and now we're back into it. We're just going to keep throttling this up and up. And even when you think that they've gotten out of it, it's like, no,
any farther.
We have one last knife to the back for you. I love this film. I agree. I think this is an easy recommend. The only thing I will add on, this is not a criticism. It's just the conversation that we did broach.
Broach? The necklace?
I find this an interesting magic trick. Ostensibly, this film is a bunch of Nazis in a sub on their mission. And yet I am still pulling for them, even though in reality I probably would not have been. They kind of skirt around that a little bit because it's really about the men and their situation. It's not about the politics behind it too much, but it's still interesting when you step back and like, oh man, like I was totally into that, and I didn't want them to quote unquote like die or lose.
They die.
Even though it's
Spoiler
a bunch of
alert.
Nazis.
Just to compare it to a film that we kind of ragged on a little bit this year, another 3-hour film in Gandhi, what we see with this one versus the other, crescendos of peaks, So the first depth charge bombing, you're like, oh my God, this has to be the worst thing that could happen. No, it just keeps doing this and amplifies. And by the end, in the big climax, it's teeth grating because you finally see them survive so many times and you're like, they're definitely going to die. And all the characters are like, we're going to die. And then they figure it out, just by willpower, and then they die. But
if it was me, by the way, we would die, Dave, because I'd be like, well, I'm giving up. I
would climb down the ladder in the harbor and be like, no, I give up. The boat wouldn't even leave the shore. But with Gandhi, it's like just that one amplitude for 3 hours, and it became kind of exhausting. And so we see narrative writing versus the biopic.
There's one way we can compare them. I don't want to do it too much because even though this is based on a real situation, this technically is based on a fictionalized version of the real stuff that was going on. But just in what I normally enjoy about biopics or real life events, I just prefer a shorter time period. And I think Das Boot shows you why that can work really well. Even at 3.5 hours long, it's kind of just this one event over like, a few weeks, I guess half a year or so. You can just feel it. You can feel the tension. When it's a big sprawling epic, it does get into that feeling of like, we're just going to check things off a list that we need to hit because everyone's going to expect this scene to be in this movie because they did this thing. When you just focus it, you can be much more pointed in your criticism and your commentary and actually looking at that human being. That's the last thing I'll say about Gandhi probably this year.
Kyle discovered they actually built this boat, which is fascinating. I discovered that the surface part of the boat went missing for 2 weeks because it was used for Indiana Jones, which I think is hilarious. Right. Wolfgang Petersen would take this and become a pretty big Hollywood name.
You go on to make the never-ending story.
A classic.
What happened in 1982, Dave?
This week in 1982... On March 26th, a groundbreaking ceremony for the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. It's the first time
the War Memorial?
I think it opens, presided over good old Ronald. On the 29th of March, Pierre Trudeau. Royal assent is given to Canada Act 1982, setting the stage for the repatriation of the Canadian Constitution.
Is that the one that Quebec officially has not ever signed?
Probably. French. And then Kyle should know this. Kyle, what happened on March 29th?
Oh, that's... everyone knows.
What is Kyle's favorite thing in the earth? Happens on Sundays
Broadway?
often.
Is something happening on Broadway?
Close. You like this better than Broadway. People get slapped in the face once in a while.
Sex with Men?
54th Academy Awards, hosted by Johnny Carson. Who won Best Picture?
Well, that if it was in 82, they're talking about the movie from 81. Is it Chariots of Fire?
Incredible. Incredible.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Kyle. Should we do April 1st? No, we'll do it next week.
Sure. Why not?
Yeah? Oh, yeah, we might as well,
By the way,
we did this last time.
I think Chariots of Fire is not a good movie.
It had the song we all still
It has a
recognize.
song.
Just like 2 weeks ago, Kyle, our footnote is April 1st. We weren't going to include this because it's just the 1982 invasion of the Falkland Islands. Oh my God. The Falkland Islands War officially begins on April 1st in 1982. You know, that old thing. All right, well
have a great day, everyone. Great way to end that off.